Most people spend their entire lives trying to meet expectations, chasing approval, and placing everyone else's needs above their own. It starts subtly, doing what's polite, what's expected, what keeps the peace. But over time, it becomes a silent pattern that shapes your choices, your identity, and eventually, your future. You wake up one day and realize that your dreams have been delayed, your energy has been drained, and your confidence has been buried under years of saying yes when you wanted to say no. You were taught that putting yourself first is selfish, that thinking about your own needs is wrong, that self-sacrifice is noble, and self-prioritization is egotistical. But this is a lie, a damaging lie that holds people back from becoming who they're truly meant to be. Because the truth is, if you don't put yourself first, nobody else will. And the longer you wait for someone to save you, recognize you, or hand you the life you want, the longer you stay trapped in the illusion that something outside of you is going to make you whole. You are the foundation. You are the source. Everything you want, success, fulfillment, peace, starts from within you. If your mind is weak, your future is fragile. If your heart is wounded, your relationships suffer. If your boundaries are broken, your direction gets hijacked. And yet, instead of strengthening ourselves, we keep pouring into others, hoping to be seen, hoping to matter, hoping the world will eventually give back what we've so freely given away. But life doesn't reward you for neglecting yourself. It rewards you when you own yourself, when you rise above the noise and take responsibility for your life without apology. The moment you begin putting yourself first is the moment everything begins to shift. Your energy changes, your focus sharpens, your path becomes clearer, and the people around you either rise with you or fall away. But either way, you start becoming the person you were meant to be, not the version others molded, but the version your soul has always known. It doesn't mean you become cold or selfish. It means you stop betraying yourself to be accepted. It means you stop shrinking to fit inside boxes that were never designed for your greatness. It means you stop waiting and start becoming. Because success is not something you chase, it's something you attract when you commit to growth, discipline, and unshakable self-worth. You weren't born to blend in, you weren't born to be a background character in your own story, and you weren't born to give your power away to people who don't even know what to do with it. Every time you ignore your gut feeling to keep someone else comfortable, you weaken your connection to yourself. Every time you lower your standards to make others feel secure, you compromise your future. Every time you abandon your truth to please the crowd, you delay the life you're meant to live. Putting yourself first is not just an act. It's a mindset, a declaration, a quiet revolution that says, I matter, my dreams matter, my peace matters. And when you start living from that truth, everything changes. Opportunities start appearing, energy begins flowing, confidence rises, and the world starts treating you the way you treat yourself, because life responds to your standard. If you treat yourself like an afterthought, don't be surprised when the world does too. But if you walk like you're worth something, speak like your voice matters, and act like your time is valuable, you start sending a different message, not just to others, but to yourself. That message echoes louder than any words you could say. I've chosen me. And from that choice, real success begins. Not overnight, not easily, but relentlessly. Because nothing is more powerful than a person who stops waiting to be chosen and chooses themselves. You are not here to live at the mercy of other people's decisions, opinions, or expectations. Your life is not a democracy where everyone else gets a vote on how you should live. The moment you begin to realize that you are the foundation of everything in your life, things start to change. Not just externally, but internally. You begin to see how every delay, every detour, every disappointment was rooted in a moment when you made yourself small to make someone else feel comfortable. And the cost of that is far greater than we often admit. Because every time you put someone else's opinion above your own intuition, you lose a little bit of your power. And when enough of those moments stack up, you start forgetting what it even feels like to stand strong in your own truth. You drift. You settle. You adapt to a life that doesn't fully reflect who you are. But the foundation of a powerful life is built from the inside out. It begins with the decision to prioritize your clarity, your growth, your well-being. No structure can stand tall if its base is cracked, and no success can be sustained if the person behind it is hollow, burned out, or unsure of who they are. Putting yourself first means building a core so strong that no storm can shake you. It means becoming so grounded in who you are that no rejection, no failure, and no criticism can derail your mission. It's not about being unkind, it's about being unshakable. Because when you begin to protect your peace, guard your energy, and sharpen your focus, you naturally begin to attract a different kind of life. A life built on purpose, not pressure. A life built on alignment, not obligation. You start saying no more often, not out of rudeness, but out of respect for your vision. You no longer compromise your integrity. To be accepted, you no longer trade your values just to keep the peace, because you realize that your success, your happiness, and your destiny are too important to be placed second. When you understand that your future is built on your present discipline, you stop wasting time trying to be liked and start investing time becoming unstoppable. Deep inside, there's a battle that every person faces, the war between living for approval and living for purpose. It's a silent struggle, and most don't even know it's happening. They wake up every day trying to do what's expected, trying not to disappoint anyone, trying to keep the image intact. And while they may look successful on the outside, inside they feel hollow, disconnected, and restless. That's the cost of chasing approval. It drains your soul. You lose your voice in trying to echo someone else's. You lose your identity in trying to fit into roles that were never meant for you. The truth is, you can't please everyone and fulfill your purpose at the same time. You will always have to choose. You can either live to be liked or live to be free, because the more you bend to be accepted, the more pieces of yourself you leave behind, and before long, you don't even recognize who you've become. Putting yourself first means choosing your purpose over popularity. It means making peace with the fact that not everyone will understand your journey, and that's okay. They weren't given your vision for a reason. It's not their job to understand. It's yours to honor. The moment you stop living for applause and start living with alignment, everything changes. You begin to walk differently, talk differently, think differently. You don't need loud approval when you have quiet conviction, because real confidence doesn't scream, it radiates. And it comes from knowing you are being true to yourself, even if it costs you temporary praise. When you choose purpose, you'll lose some people, but you'll find yourself. You'll discover a peace that no applause can match and a strength that no criticism can shake. That's the shift. From needing to be seen to being secure in your own skin. And when that shift happens, success stops being a desperate chase and starts becoming a natural response to who you are becoming. You stop running after things and they start gravitating toward you, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're aligned with something real, something deeper, something unshakable. Time, energy, and focus. These are the real currencies of life. Yet most people give them away freely, unconsciously, as if they're endless. They allow distractions to invade their thoughts, emotional vampires to consume their peace, and unimportant obligations to steal their momentum. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve your growth, you are saying no to your future. Every hour spent on things that do not align with your purpose is an investment in stagnation. And success does not grow in a mind that is constantly scattered, drained, or distracted. It requires deliberate focus. It requires undivided commitment. It requires you to take full ownership of where your time and energy are going. Because where your energy flows, your life goes. If you keep allowing everything and everyone to pull at you, you will never have the strength to build something that lasts. Putting yourself first is about protecting your most valuable assets, your mental clarity, your emotional balance, and your ability to concentrate. You cannot pour into your goals if you're always being drained by drama, noise, or guilt. And you cannot become your highest self when your days are dictated by other people's chaos. You need to learn the power of the word no, not out of disrespect, but out of deep respect for your vision. Every moment you reclaim from distractions is a moment invested in your evolution. Every boundary you set is a wall that keeps mediocrity out and excellence in. And every time you silence the outside noise, your inner voice grows stronger. That voice knows the way. It knows what you need to do, what to walk away from, and where your real power lives. But you can't hear it when your life is full of clutter. You have to clear the space. You have to simplify. You have to remove what's draining you so you can finally start building what you were born to create. Only then will success not just follow you, it will chase you, because it recognizes when someone is finally serious about rising. Boundaries are not barriers to keep people out. They are the lines that protect the person you are becoming. Too often, people confuse kindness with availability. They think being good means being endlessly accessible, emotionally open to all, and always saying yes. But growth demands protection. It demands that you honor your time, your energy, and your focus like sacred ground. Because if you don't, the world will keep pulling at you, consuming you and distracting you until there's nothing left for your own purpose. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They're about making space for the right things to grow. They are an act of self-respect, a declaration that your goals are not up for negotiation, that your peace is not a free-for-all, and that your time is not a donation to every demand that comes knocking. When you start putting yourself first, you'll feel the resistance, not just from others, but from within. You'll feel the guilt, the discomfort, the urge to explain yourself, but growth is not comfortable. Choosing yourself, especially after a lifetime of self-neglect, will feel unfamiliar, and that's okay. Discomfort is a sign you're breaking an old pattern. The truth is, people who benefited from your lack of boundaries will be the first to complain when you finally enforce them. But let them. You're not responsible for their reactions. You're responsible for your alignment. You were not born to carry everyone's weight while ignoring your own. You are not here to constantly rescue others while abandoning your own dreams. Boundaries are not selfish, they are strategic. They protect your vision from being diluted. They protect your energy from being drained, and they protect your life from being dictated by everyone but you. When you start saying no to what's not for you, you open the door to what is. Your life begins to feel lighter, clearer, more intentional. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances and start feeling like the architect of your future. And that's where true power lives. Not in pleasing everyone, but in respecting yourself so deeply that your life begins to mirror your standards. That's what boundaries do. They don't lock you in, they free you to rise. One of the hardest lessons you will ever learn is that putting yourself first will often be misunderstood. People will question you. They will call you selfish, distant, arrogant, even cold. They'll make you feel guilty for choosing peace over pressure, solitude over noise, clarity over confusion. But here's what most never understand. Being misunderstood is a price you must be willing to pay for a meaningful life. Because when you begin to change, when you evolve, when you no longer play small to keep others comfortable, you threaten their comfort zone. You remind them of the choices they're not making, and instead of reflecting inward, they project outward. That's not your burden to carry. You're not here to explain your growth to those who are committed to staying the same. You're not here to dilute your power just to make others feel secure. You're here to rise. Being misunderstood is a sign you're no longer living for validation. You've stepped into a space where your energy speaks louder than your words, where your silence holds more weight than their opinions. And in that space, you start to build something rare, inner freedom. The kind of freedom that doesn't need approval, doesn't need applause, and doesn't crumble under judgment. The kind of freedom that says, I know who I am, and I'm okay if you don't. That's clarity. When you live for purpose, not popularity, you will confuse people. When you choose growth over gossip, focus over distraction, self-respect over people-pleasing, you will stand out, and standing out often means standing alone. But let them talk, let them question, let them misunderstand, because the only thing worse than being misunderstood is being invisible in your own life. And that's the life you're leaving behind, the one where you silenced yourself to be accepted, the one where you hid your greatness to fit in. From now on, your job is not to be understood, your job is to become undeniable. Because the ones who dare to choose themselves, no matter the noise, are the ones who eventually become impossible to ignore. And that's when real success begins to take notice, when you stop explaining and start becoming. There is a profound shift that happens when you stop chasing external definitions of success and begin cultivating internal power. Most people are conditioned to believe that success is about the car, the house, the applause, the titles. They spend their lives chasing things they think will make them feel enough, only to find themselves emptier when they get them. That's because real success doesn't come from the outside, it grows from the inside. It's not about accumulation, it's about alignment. It's not about proving your worth to the world, it's about discovering your worth within yourself. When you start putting yourself first, you stop chasing and start building. You stop reacting and start creating. You realize that it's not the spotlight that makes you powerful, it's the fire you've built within, the discipline you've embraced, the clarity you've fought for in silence. This inner power is what separates those who rise from those who run in circles. Because when your confidence is tied to outcomes, you'll always be a slave to circumstances. But when your confidence is rooted in who you are, your values, your vision, your ability to stay grounded, then success becomes inevitable. It's not about proving your worth to the world, it's about discovering your worth within yourself. When you start putting yourself first, you stop chasing and start building. You stop reacting and start creating. You realize that it's not the spotlight that makes you powerful. It's the fire you've built within, the discipline you've embraced, the clarity you've fought for in silence. This inner power is what separates those who rise from those who run in circles. Because when your confidence is tied to outcomes, you'll always be a slave to circumstances. But when your confidence is rooted in who you are, your values, your vision, your ability to stay grounded, then success becomes inevitable. You no longer need constant validation. You no longer need to chase every opportunity, every opinion, every ounce of attention. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're deeply aligned. People feel your energy, your presence, your strength. And the world responds to that kind of presence differently. Doors open that once stayed shut. Resources appear that once seemed distant. And not because you begged for them, but because you became the kind of person who naturally attracts them. External success fades, shifts, and changes with seasons. But inner power, that stays. It builds, it multiplies, and most importantly, it leads. The stronger you are inside, the less you need from the outside, and ironically, the less you need it, the more it comes. That's the paradox of alignment. When you choose to become the person your future needs, instead of chasing what the world says you should want, success doesn't just find you, it follows you, relentlessly. The moment you start putting yourself first, you begin to tap into a version of yourself that was always there, just buried under layers of doubt, fear, and compromise. There's a version of you that doesn't apologize for wanting more, that doesn't hesitate to speak with clarity, that doesn't shrink when pressure rises. That version is powerful. That version is focused. That version is waiting for you to show up. But most people never meet that version of themselves because they're too busy living out patterns handed to them by society, by family, by past pain. They live in cycles, repeating the same choices, the same excuses, the same emotional habits, and nothing changes until you decide to interrupt the cycle, until you stop and ask yourself, what am I allowing that is keeping me small? That one question, if answered honestly, can unlock a door you didn't even know was closed. Putting yourself first is not just about changing your schedule or setting boundaries. It's about changing your identity. It's about shifting the way you see yourself at the core. No longer the one who waits, who hopes, who tolerates. Now you become the one who chooses, who acts, who decides. And decision is power. Most people avoid decisions because they're afraid of being wrong, afraid of failure, afraid of what might go wrong. It's not, but the only true failure is staying stuck in a life that doesn't honor your potential. You cannot grow if you're not willing to disrupt your comfort. You cannot become who you're meant to be by staying loyal to who you've been. And you definitely can't experience success by standing on the sidelines, watching others live boldly while you keep playing small to stay safe. The version of you that succeeds is not waiting to be discovered. It's waiting to be activated. And that activation begins the moment you decide that you're done living halfway, done seeking permission, done watering yourself down. When you finally say, I am enough and I deserve more, something inside of you clicks. And from that place, rooted in self-respect and clarity, you stop settling and start rising, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. Because you were never meant to live average. You were meant to live awakened. The road to real success is not paved with comfort. It's built with courage. When you put yourself first, you're not just making a choice to live better. You're choosing to face everything you once ran from. You confront your fears head on. You stop numbing your doubts with distractions. You stop blaming the world and start holding yourself accountable. And that's where true transformation begins, not when things get easy, but when you become brave enough to face the hard truth about what's been holding you back, the excuses, the procrastination, the stories you've been telling yourself about why you're not ready yet. Growth doesn't happen because time passes. Growth happens because you make a different decision with the same fear sitting in front of you. And that decision is often uncomfortable, even painful. But it's the pain that carves out your strength. It's the discomfort that shapes your discipline. And it's the responsibility that creates your rise. No one stumbles into greatness by accident. Every person who has built something meaningful, something lasting, has walked through moments of fear, failure, and deep doubt. But they didn't stop. They didn't shrink. They didn't trade long-term purpose for short-term relief. And neither can you. Because once you've seen a glimpse of who you could become, settling becomes torture. You know too much to go back. You've tasted clarity. You've felt alignment. You've seen the cost of living small. And now you have a choice. Stay in the comfort zone that is quietly suffocating you, or step into the unknown that is trying to build you. Most people choose the familiar, but winners choose the future. Putting yourself first means betting on yourself even when you have no guarantees. It means showing up not just when you feel confident, but especially when you feel unqualified. Because real power isn't found in having no fear. It's found in moving forward despite it. That's the difference. That's what sets apart those who talk about success from those who embody it. And when you make that shift, when you embrace courage over comfort, you begin to unlock a version of life that most only dream about. There comes a point when you realize that no one is coming to save you, and strangely, that becomes the most empowering truth you'll ever face. Because from that moment on, you stop waiting, you stop wishing, you stop living like life owes you something, and start moving like you owe something to yourself. You take back control, not of the world, but of your choices, of your energy, of your direction. You begin to wake up with intention, speak with clarity, act with purpose. And you realize that success isn't a destination waiting at the end of the road. It's the discipline you carry with you every single day. It's found in how you show up when no one's watching, how you think when doubt knocks, how you stay focused when distractions scream for attention. Success is built in silence, in sacrifice, in the decision to keep going long after the mood has passed. When you put yourself first, You're not pushing others down. You're lifting yourself up so you can lead, inspire, and impact at a higher level. Because you cannot give what you don't have. You cannot light the way for others if your own fire has burned out. The stronger you become, the more value you bring to the world, not the weaker, not the more drained, not the more self-neglect. Your best self doesn't emerge from exhaustion. It rises from alignment. And when you're aligned, mind, body, spirit, you become unstoppable. You think clearly, you move intentionally, you attract opportunities that once felt out of reach, not because the world changed, but because you did. So make the decision every single day to put yourself first, to protect your vision, to honor your calling. Because once you do, life will no longer feel like something happening to you. It will feel like something you're shaping with every thought, every word, every step. That's when success begins to follow, not in bursts, not in luck, but relentlessly. Because success always follows the one who finally has the courage to follow themselves. You are not waiting on a sign. You are the sign. Choose yourself and watch everything else rise to meet you.